Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and title these notes 7.1 Pythagorean Theorem. So go ahead and write this down. And then let's go ahead and jump in. So really what we're doing is just a review of maybe some things that you guys had in 8th grade. Notice I'm drawing a triangle, but it's not just any triangle, it is a right triangle. Make sure you draw that right angle symbol and go ahead and label this a right triangle. So remember, what is cool about this is we have some legs, and then we have that crazy word, and it's called a hypotenuse. And I remember where the hypotenuse is because it is always across from the right angle symbol. So here's the definition of a Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem is when the square of the hypotenuse, that weird word, equals the sum of the square of the legs. And remember, sum means add. So these are the key words. It is the square of the hypotenuse, and it's the sum of the square of the legs. So we're going to have a little exponent of a 2 a lot in our work here. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at example. Label your paper example 1 and draw yourself a very nice, neat triangle, a right triangle. Let's say that bottom part is 7 units and my height is 3. The hypotenuse is x. Look, here's the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So please make sure that you write that down. Most of you guys might have a memory of this from a while ago. Remember, A and B, those are the legs, and it doesn't matter. It could be 3 first or it could be 7 first, but this one does matter. That is always across from the right angle symbol. So if I kind of bold out my right angle and trace across, boom, that's the hypotenuse. So we're looking for the hypotenuse. We're looking for the letter X. That's the hypotenuse. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to fill in the pieces. I'm so sorry, this is off my screen. Here we go. That's 3 squared. I'm going to recopy the plus sign. And then I wrote 7 squared. I'm going to recopy the equal sign. And remember, we don't know what the hypotenuse is, so I'm just going to leave c squared. Don't forget the little 2 at the top. Also remember, you can't do 3 plus 7 first. You've got to square your 3. You got to square your 7, and then go ahead and copy the rest of the problem. So let's go ahead and do 9 plus 49, and that's going to be 58. And guys, we're going to use a calculator a lot, so if you want me to just double check, there you go, that's 58. So that's going to equal c squared. We are not simplifying like perfect. We're just going to use our calculator. So I am about to take the square root of 58. So let me write that down real quick. And if you notice, I get 7.6157731. We are always going to round one place. It is either going to be 7.6 or it's going to be 7.7. I know it's 7.6 because look at the next number. It's a 1. So it stays 7.6. So this equals 7.6. We're going to box that in and we are going to move on. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at example 2. So for example 2, what we're going to do here is we're going to draw an upside down triangle. So please draw your triangle where it looks like mine. Don't forget to draw your right angle symbol. Okay, and we're going to label this a 6. And then this side that's going straight down, which is the height, remember it's just the upside down triangle, that's x, which means 6 square root of 2, that's going to be the hypotenuse. All right, let's write down our formula. We're always going to use this for right triangles. Now look, again, if I bold out that right angle symbol, I'm always going to know where the hypotenuse is. The hypotenuse is always across. So that means we know the c value here. All right, so that's saying that's b. Like it doesn't even matter. I can make one of them b and one of them a. But here's what we're doing. We are looking for a leg in this example. So please title your notes, looking for a leg. All right, so let's plug in. This is going to be 6 squared. Y'all, I don't know what b is. So b squared stays b squared. Just going to recopy that. And this time, c, that's plain c, but we need c squared. So I'm going to write 6 square root of 2, and then I'm going to put it in parentheses and square it. Okay, so let's take 6 squared. Of course, that's 36. I'm going to recopy b squared, and then watch how I write this. That's squared. It's 6 square roots of 2 times 6 square roots of 2. I'm just going to recopy the next line of my work, and then watch what I do with the 6's and the square root 2's. Put the 6's together. Put the 2's together. Remember, when you multiply square roots, you can put them all together like that. All right, just going to copy 36 plus b squared. 6 times 6, you guys know that. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Y'all, 4 is a perfect square. Watch. All right, so we are going to have that be 36 times 2. I know that because the square root of 4 is 2. Let's keep going. I'm going to bring down the rest of my work. I got to recopy that equal sign. I'm going to recopy it in a minute. 36 plus b squared equals, there we go. Now, how did I get that 72? I did 36 times 2. Y'all, this is an equation. I'm going to make a 0 pair. I'm trying to get b squared all by itself. So you make a 0 pair. 72 minus 36 is 36. Now look, when you get to this, I have a single b squared on one side and a single 36, a single number. When you have a single letter and a single number, that's when you square root. When I draw the square root symbol, that little 2 goes away. Notice how I did not write the little 2 there. And then 36 is perfect. The square root of that is 6. See? Just proved it with my calculator. So we know that x equals 6. That's it. All right. So example 3, this is going to involve a trapezoid. So you're going to draw your height, draw a short side on the top, and then draw a longer side on the bottom. And then guys, don't forget your right angle symbols. We have 2 of them here. I'm going to use my straight edge, my ID, to make a straight edge so I can just make a nice clean trapezoid. Please do that. And let's go ahead and put some measurements up here. So I know that that's 8. If that's 8, then that side is also 8. Recopy that right angle. And look, that whole thing's 11, but the top part's 5. So this little extra piece, that's going to be a 6, and that's all I need to find that x. That x was part of a hiding right triangle that we just created. All right? So remember, there's my right angle. Across from that, that's the hypotenuse. We are looking for the letter C. All right, so we're going to turn it into an a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I don't know the hypotenuse, so notice how I recopied c squared in the next line of my work. Okay, so for A, I just want to reiterate, I paused the video because I want to talk to you about this. Y'all, the A and B, it doesn't matter which one it is. I'm going to write I'm going to write 8 for A, and I'm going to write 6 for B. It would be the same exact thing if I wrote 6 for A and 8 for B. Just remember, it doesn't matter. The only thing that really matters is the hypotenuse, which is the one I highlighted. That has to be all by itself on one side of the equal sign. It has to be the C. Okay, so 8 squared plus 6 squared. So 8 squared, 64. That's 36. We're going to go ahead and add those. Just going to use the calculator. It's 100. So remember, I have one letter and one number. That's it. When you have just one thing equal to one thing, this is when you square root both sides. What's the square root of 100? 10. So 10 equals C. Remember, you don't write the little 2 anymore. So that x value is a 10. That's it. Let's box that in. Okay, so if you need to pause it, go ahead and pause it, but you need to draw a square. So the best that you can, please draw a square. And remember the deal about a square, all the sides are congruent. Notice I drew the little congruent marks, and you got 4 right angles, so make sure you show all 4 of those right angles. Draw a square the best that you can. I know that we're just like sketching it, and we're not using graph paper where it's exact, but do the best you can. All right, here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half diagonally. Please do the same with yours. And that diagonal cuts it in half. And it is always the C value. Please write that down. It's the hypotenuse. And remember, the hypotenuse and the C value is the exact same thing. So, what are we going to do with this? Well, first of all, let's give it some measurements. Let's say each side is 5. So go ahead and label it as 5. And here's your instructions. We're going to find the length of the diagonal. And the length of the diagonal is never the same amount as the side. So if the side is 5, then the diagonal is certainly not 5. We're going to have to use the hypotenuse and the Pythagorean theorem to figure it out. And the diagonal, there you go. It's your C value. Just proving because it's across from a right angle symbol. You know, I'm just going to separate this little piece of the square. I'm just going to separate this piece out. So that 5 is that 5. That 5 is the bottom. And then, of course, I'm going to redraw that hypotenuse, the diagonal. So listen, the diagonal is not part of this square. That's why I drew a dashed line. So draw a dashed line because it's not really part of the figure. It's just a length. It's just a distance. Recopy the right angle, though, for sure. All right, so let's find x. Here we go. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Let's drop in our numbers. 5 squared plus 5 squared. All right, so we know that's 25 plus 25. Then again, here's a single number and a single letter. From here, u square root, both sides. On my very next line, you just write plain C. Do not write an exponent. And y'all, the cool thing about this unit is we're just using the calculator. So I'm going to find the square root of 50. I get 7.0 blah, 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 blah. We're only rounding to the nearest first spot, and that's going to be 7.1. So I should kind of use the approximate since we rounded. So that's really how I should be writing. I should be using the approximate symbol. Let's box that in. That's the diagonal.